Internet has become an integral part of our day-to-day lives. Now, the 5th of February every year was designated as the Safer Internet Day. And the theme this year is Together for a Better Internet, a shared responsibility for all. In observance of this day, we have organized a special panel discussion where we'll be discussing issues surrounding the issue of safer internet. I'm your host, Kumbukani Mwalwanda, and I'm joined by a panel who are going to be introducing themselves very shortly, starting from the far right. May we know you, sir?
Yes, my name is Panji Halawa, working with UNESCO as the IT and Health and Services Manager.
Tokozani Chimbe, Deputy Director Legal Consumer Affairs at Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority, Macra.
I'm Edmund Kachale, the Vice President of the ICT Association of Malawi, ICTAM.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we'll start with you, Ms. Chimbe. Will you tell us the background of this day? Why was it designated?
Thank you so much. The Safer Internet Day was designated to celebrate the positive usage of the internet, as well as to make people aware of the negative usages that are on the internet as well. So it's basically to raise awareness on the dangers, the opportunities and challenges that we actually face on the internet. It was actually designated by some organizations in the European Union, particularly InHope and InSafe. But now it's actually commemorated in over 130 countries, including Malawi.
Now, this year's theme is Together for a Better Internet. How does it relate to internet usage in Malawi? I'd like you, Mr. Edmund Kajali from ICTAM, to take that one.
I mean, the theme relates very well with Malawi in the sense that we are looking at how various stakeholders, starting with parents in the home, can help in bringing a safer internet environment in the home, because most of the issues that we are discussing here affect children and youth.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Harawa, you're working with the youth. How big is the problem of harassment and cyberbullying and all sorts of harassments that happen on the internet? Is it a problem here in Malawi?
Yes, I'll agree with you. It is indeed a problem. Having working with the young people, as you have later reported, we are on a program that we're currently implementing together with Macra. This is a child protection program. So from this program, what we've been able to see is we have a number of cases that have been reported, where young people are actually reporting being victimized online, issues of cyberbullying. So it's an imminent problem, but it's indeed something which is emerging. As we know that Malawi is a developing country, we are evolving, usage of internet is coming up. So because of that pickup as well, these are issues that also young people are able to face, and they're indeed there, they're actually happening.
Now, there's a conversation to do with the internet and the young people. What is Macra doing to ensure that young people are protected as they use the internet?
Thank you so much. In responding to that, I'll actually say not really Macra, but Malawi government is doing. Recognizing the dangers that are there on the internet, the first thing that the Malawi government did was to actually initiate and actually pass a law that deals with different cyber crimes, including crimes that can easily or are perpetrated especially against children. So other than implementing or passing this law, it has also, the law which has actually also made Macra to be some sort of like one of the key stakeholders, overseers of that particular legislation. We, as Macra, we are also trying to coordinate with other stakeholders to actually find better ways in which we can actually protect the young ones. Remembering that the role of Macra when it comes to cybersecurity, and especially on some of these things, is mainly raising awareness of the dangers that happen on the internet. Because if you look at the way the act is actually structured, in terms of prosecution, enforcement, it still rests on law enforcement. So as Macra, we are working together with law enforcement, and as per the theme, Together for a Better Internet, that's why we're also working together with the industry. We are working with ICTAM, international organizations so that we can actually learn and share this responsibility.
Let's talk a bit about the 4 R's that you're promoting. What exactly are you trying to promote with the 4 R's?
Thank you so much. When we are talking about the 4 R's, are the simply basic principles that one has to have at the back of their mind every time they are actually online. And when we talk about the 4 R's, they simply means the first one is respect. What we are advocating is that the way you respect each other in this physical world should be the same way you should respect whoever you engage with online, regardless of the fact that you can't see them, but they still need to be respected the way you would have respected them if you could see them in person. So the same respect that you should treat others the way you would want to be treated. So this goes to the element of respect. The second one is responsibility and reasoning. That's the third one. I'll talk about these two principles together because they go hand in hand. And when we're talking about these two principles, basically what we are saying is, as you are engaging on the internet or online, always try to do it diligently. Think before you do any act on the internet. Think first, if I'm doing this, if somebody was doing this to me, would I be happy about what is happening? Again, if I do this, what will be the impact on whoever receives this sort of message? How am I affecting others? Am I positively or negatively impacting whoever will be the recipient of that message? So it's actually trying to say, okay, please be reasonable and be responsible for anything that you are actually posting on the internet. It should be something that you should be proud of, that later on you can say that, okay, I did this, and be proud to say that you did it. The last one is about resilience. And when we're talking about resilience, it basically means, as in our day-to-day physical world, there will be drawbacks, even online. There will be times when you can actually be attacked. There will be times when you can actually be abused. And every time this happens, we have to learn that we don't have to take it negatively or to take negative consequences as a result, but we should rise up and focus on the positives and not just lie down. And we should take positive steps towards addressing whatever negative things have actually happened to us. So it's about responsible use of the internet.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Harawa, maybe we don't really know what being harassed or what cyberbullying or whatever harassments happen on the internet. Maybe just shed more light on that. What are we talking about? Because there's some people, some young people who are being abused on the internet, but they really don't know that it's abuse.
Yes.
What are these cases?
Okay, yes. It's indeed a problem that we've actually faced even as an organization. As my colleague has already alluded to, the challenge that we have is most young people, even parents, are not aware of what is happening, because I think issues of internet, whether it's cyberbullying or issues of using mobile phones, these are things that young people are able to do at the confinement of their rooms. So no one can be able to see them, whatever it is that they are doing. So some of the issues that we get will be someone asking for nude pictures, issues of porn. There have been a number of instances, even here in Malawi, where we have actually seen some pornography actually being circulated around the social media. So you would find that a young person can actually be engaged with a person that they haven't even met, and the person is actually asking them for a picture. What you'd find out is eventually that will be perpetrated further, whereas the young person, if they fail to advance their needs, the person can actually use that against them.
Mr. Kajari, maybe the issue would also be the issue of control. Who should be controlling how people access the internet? Because this happens in private, and the youth will access these things in private. So maybe the issue of control, how does the issue of control come in? How do you think it can come in?
In a broader perspective, I think controlling usage of internet is a little difficult because, as you've explained, most of the internet usage is happening in private, and with the coming in of phones, I think most youth are accessing the internet now, and it's becoming more and more difficult. As regards to today's point of interest, of which they are the kids themselves and the young people, I think the primary measure to control most of these things comes from the parents and guardians. Nowadays, smartphones are indeed as smart as they are said to be. You can put some controls on the phone so that if they access certain pages, they should be restricted. And sometimes you are in homes where people share internet. You can actually put some controls through such gadgets. But again, I think before we talk about control, I think we should talk about prevention. I think we have to take an active role as a society to try and engage our youth at an early stage as possible, so that they should learn and become more and more aware of what it means to be cyberbullied, because most of these things don't just happen instantly. They are gradual, and before you know it, you're already there.
Maybe, Ms. Chimbe, would you just bring us into perspective statistics? How many youth are accessing the internet right now in Malawi? Should we really be concerned that children are being mischievous on the internet? Maybe they don't even have access.
Thank you so much. Currently, the statistics we have, according to the last survey that was undertaken jointly by Macra and the National Statistic Office, revealed that internet penetration generally in Malawi is still quite low. And when it comes to the youth, I think it was less than 10%. But regardless, to say that mobile penetration is getting higher and higher, and there are more and more youth that are actually getting connected every day, which means the statistics might be different if the survey had to happen today, because as I said, the last survey was conducted in around 2014-15. So the threat is real, because nowadays you know how many people, like, gadgets are there in the house. They might not be able to have their own gadgets, but they are able to access internet via parents' phone. And nowadays most schools even have internet and computer labs and other things where the kids can actually access internet. So as every day it's increasing, so the threat is real. And it can also be taken as an opportunity, unlike our other developing countries, where now they are fighting. The internet penetration for youth is very high, and now they're actually trying to bring in the awareness issues after the kids have already engaged. We have an opportunity to educate our kids before they actually get online. In that way, they can actually be more safer than maybe we might not face the other problems that the developing world are actually facing.
You're watching a special panel discussion on safer internet, and the theme this year is Together for a Better Internet. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the special panel discussion on the Safer Internet Day, where we are engaging some experts on issues to do with the internet. Mr. Kajali, I want to get back to the issue of control. I don't think enough is being done to control these things. Who is to blame? Is it parents, or there are some loose ends? And what do you think needs to be done? Maybe even we can take it to the higher level, that maybe the inlet of the internet itself, maybe there are no controls. It's just free. Everybody can do what they want to do. Don't you think, or do you think there should be controls, and what controls are these?
Okay. In a broader sense, I think when you look at the internet as a superhighway of traffic, in countries like Malawi, where we believe in the freedom of expression and access to information, I think it is not right for us to control what comes into our country as information. We know there are countries like China where they do control, and I think even in North Korea they have their own internet, so that they can regulate what goes in. But then that puts you out of the global village, because you now start getting filtered information.
But then on that, morally, aren't people protected?
Okay, so It's a tricky question. I think it's a question of, because the issue is, what does a person want to see? Okay, I'll go back to an example of people's interest in pornography. So these are grown-up people who have interest in that industry. Whether that is morally correct or not is an ethical question, but they have, in quotes, their own right to access that information at that particular stage. I think a primary driver there is a parent or a guardian. In most houses now, I think people are connected to a switch or a hub or some internet device. Those devices have got more controls that I think they can set up, either through their service provider, or if they have got some techno know-how. I think what is more important is for us to make people more aware of what it means to regulate their own network. Maybe when we become more sophisticated as we go as a country, maybe as a country, at some point we'll start looking at what can be regulated at national level. But as it stands today, it's very, very tricky to
Ms.
do
Chimbe,
that.
you're from the regulator itself. What would you say to that?
Thank you so much. As I think I'll quite agree with what my colleague has just said. When you talk about control, it's a bit tricky. What exactly are you trying to control on the internet? And again, control is very difficult on the internet because of the nature of the internet itself, the way it was built. Because internet was built to be actually a free platform with no restrictions. So again, if you look at the way the internet operates, you will understand that it is very difficult to actually control certain things that are actually happening online. I'll give an example. Most of us, we have Yahoo accounts. As long as you have like mine is yahoo.com. So as long as I have yahoo.com, even if I'm sending a message to you right now, it will first bounce to a server in the US before it lands to your account, which means it gets out of the country and comes back. That's just the nature of the internet. So some of these things, when we're talking about control, it is very hard to control. Where exactly are you supposed to be actually doing this control? So normally when we're talking about control, it's at the end user side. Like you maybe being able to control what can actually come on your gadget and what you can actually filter on your gadget. So normally when we're talking about controls, I normally say they can actually come in 3 different ways. The first one, it can be through maybe legal instruments where the law would actually say you can't transmit this, you can't do this. But we know having it legally does not mean it cannot happen technically. So the second one is technical measures that should be taken to actually exercise this control. And most of these technical measures are normally things that as a user, you should be aware of those technical gadgets and you should be able to actually initiate or engage these technical measures. The third one is just awareness, and normally which I call exercising some cyber hygiene. Just the way you exercise health hygiene, some sort of like cleanliness, it's the same thing, that approach that we should be taking towards the internet. If I'm going out of my house, if I want it to be secure, I need to lock. And not just close the door, I need to lock it. It's the same way on the internet. What should you lock? It's your gadget. If you want it to be secure, whether it's a phone, whether it's your Wi-Fi, you have to use very strong passwords. And again, you don't share your passwords with anyone else. You can't give your key to anyone else. At the same time, your password needs to be changed again and again because it can actually be hacked by hackers if you constantly use the same password. And you can't have your password for your phone, the same password for your bank accounts, the same password for different things, because once you are hacked, you can actually lose a lot of things as well as money. The same way, as parents, we always tell our kids, you don't talk to strangers. We should also tell our kids, even online, that if you are going online, please don't talk to people or befriend people you don't know. If you want to talk to somebody, let the kid always come back to you as a parent to actually ask, to get consent about getting online. And again, we're talking about parenting as well. As we are parents, we should also be parents online. I know the kids are being computer savvy more and more each day, but that doesn't mean we should relinquish the control as a parent to the kids. There are other ways in which you can actually ask your other elders who are taking survey as well to assist you on how you can go about certain things or implement certain measures. The same way about parental guidance. You know you can't let your kids watch an X-rated movie. It's the same way online. You have to be aware of what your kids are watching and whether it's age appropriate. So there are certain things when it comes to cyber security that we talk, that just general cyber hygiene, as I put it, that we need to exercise. And if we exercise this cyber hygiene, these precautions or certain practices, you see that more and more you mitigate the dangers of that can come about by being hacked or being attacked by threatened by a cybersecurity concern. Our browsers, they need to be upgraded. As long as you don't do these upgrades, you can actually be attacked. There's a reason why they constantly upgrade. So these are some of the things that are called cyber hygienes that we need to practice on a day-to-day basis if we want not to be attacked by or to experience the negative things that are actually happening online.
Mr. Harawa, the issue of control, as addressed by Ms. Chimbe, she says that there's no way you can control the internet because of its nature. But then if the internet is not controlled, then the youth can also use it the way they wish. Because yes, a parent will tell a child not to use the internet in such a way, but it is used in private. So do you think that there's enough education among the youth on the harms that are on the internet?
Okay, yes, I'll begin with the theme of today. We're saying together for a better internet. I like the theme of this year's commemoration, because I think it's bringing the responsibility of having a safer internet both to the parent as well as the child and all the relevant stakeholders. My colleagues have actually made some good points in terms of what we need to do to make sure we have control. I'll give you a scenario. Most of us, I think, maybe even yourself, you've been able to sign up for anything on the internet, whether it's Facebook, whether it's a WhatsApp account. You would find out that once we are doing that, us as adults or people who we can say we're not vulnerable, how many of us actually take time to go and read through the privacy agreements that actually comes with any account that you're creating online? You find this long page, they're asking you to lead. Few of us actually take time to go through what is it that it's saying. All we go is click, next, and then you install or you apply for that thing. So this is an adult person. They're not even having time to go and read through those, whether privacy documents which are there or policy documents. How do we expect a young child who's 10 years old to go through the same? So it's indeed together for better internet, because it begins with us as policymakers, stakeholders, to ensure that the parents themselves actually have enough knowledge in terms of what needs to be done. We've spoken about the internet being free for all. My colleagues have mentioned about it being a channel. So we cannot, it's very tricky or very not easy in terms of filtering information, because it's an available platform for everyone. However, there are indeed some measures that you can put in place. For instance, my colleague Edmond mentioned about the routers, or if you have a hotspot at home, those are easy. You can actually put some firewall rules, or you can actually filter that content so that kids cannot be able to see that. I'll give you an example. There was a certain family, it was a mom. She had an 11-year-old daughter. So she was actually telling a story to a friend that my daughter usually likes hiding in her room. I don't know what she does. I think she's having fun on her tablet. So what we did, we said, okay, when you go home, can you just go and just get the tablet, ask nicely, can you go to the history and check what she's browsing? Because at a 10-year-old, she wasn't able to actually figure it out that you can actually clear the browsing history. While she went there, she was shocked. She was actually visiting sites that she wasn't supposed to. So you can actually see that the control wasn't there because the parent didn't take initiative to say, my child is in the room for a week or 2 weeks. She doesn't even check on her to say, what is it that you're actually seeing on the other side? So it's indeed a collective effort that both the parent has to be upfront, and then Togo mentioned about kids being tech savvy. So it's also the law of us parents to actually make sure that we take lead in terms of knowing what is it that the kids are doing, and then even going deeper into the gadgets. Usually cyberbullying is it's a term that is used to more or less like threaten someone using something. So cyberbullying can come in different forms. I did mention something about you can be able to have released probably a nude picture. This could be a young girl. So people can use that to bully her by sharing that image online, whether it's via WhatsApp or Facebook. That can be a component of cyberbullying. Issues of making even racial remarks, issues of jokes, making fun of a young person, maybe because of their defectiveness, of how they look, how they walk, the color of their skin. All those things can actually aggregate to be cyberbullying. And the cyber is coming in because this is something which is happening online.
Okay, we've run out of time, so I'm going to ask you to individually make some final remarks on our discussion today. I'll begin with you, sir.
My final remark is that we need to take active role, especially parents, on helping our kids to live a better life. Looking at internet as a safer platform is possible when we take an active role. And I think we need to have these discussions more and more and engage various stakeholders and make parents more aware. In churches, we have to discuss these things because they affect our church members, but also at work, we should have more and more policies that help parents in safeguarding kids so that we can have a better Malawi. Thank you.
Mr. Harrow?
Yes, my comment is more similar to my colleagues. I think it's a collective effort, as I said. Our theme is saying togetherness. So it's indeed the law of both the community, the parents, and as well as the various relevant stakeholders to make sure that people are aware about these issues. As you rightly put it, people don't know what it means to be cyberbullied, what it means to be exploited online. So it's the law of all relevant stakeholders, the parents and the community, to ensure that we spread out the word about these issues so that people should be able to report them and we should be able to mitigate them. And then we should also be able to let the people know that actually laws are there that can persecute people who have been found to be doing all this kind of malpractices online.
And finally, Ms. Chimbe, would you just round up as a regulator the expectations that are there and what you would assure Malawians on the use of the internet?
Thank you so much. From the regulator's side, what I can say is we all have a role to play. Cybersecurity starts with us individually. Let's be role models for our young ones. The way we act on the internet will be the same way the young ones will copy and will conduct themselves online. Again, the laws are there. We know that there are going to be a lot of technology changes. It's a very dynamic industry. Let's be diligent. Try to find the right information. Ask. You'll be assisted. There's so many people out there who are rich with information that can assist us. If something is happening to us, no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter how embarrassing the question is, please contact Macra if it's anything to do with issues on cyber. We'll direct you to the right people who have the right information. Let's not suffer in silence, whether it's us or our kids. Let's stand up for some of these rights. We can only enjoy the internet if we use it responsibly and we gain out only the positives and mitigate against the negatives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's how we conclude this special panel discussion on the Safer Internet Day, which is observed on the 5th of February every year. Now, I was joined by a special panel of guests, and we had Mr. Edmund Kachali, who is from ICTAM, and we also had Mr. Panji Harawa from UNESCO, and we also had Ms. Thokozani Chimbe from Macra. I'm Kumbukani Molwanda. Thanks for watching and goodbye.